Good morning and welcome to Inside News. It's our Wednesday show, Jour de Galop, where we're going to talk about last meeting, my two to follow, and then a couple of barrier trials. In fact, there were 5 barrier trials. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of horses that will be nominated for the feature race this week, the Lightning Stakes. And then I also want to talk about 2 of my 2 to follow that I have been following. And I thought I'd just give you a little bit of feedback on 2 horses that I have been following. Let's start off talk about Saturday. It was the feature race, was the Winter Stakes. It was a Group 3 over 1850, and it was won very well by the favourite Our Choice on Friday. We actually thought that Dawn Raid would win, and he won a very nice race. This horse has really impressed me since they put him over a little bit of ground. And Robbie Frad, well, he also impressed me. It was a very good ride by Robbie. He went to the front and he dictated his own pace, and he obviously knew exactly what he was doing. Turned into the straight, turned it into a sprint, and he opened up those 2 or 3 lengths, and he was always going to be a tough horse to catch. And I thought, once again, a very good ride by top jockey Robbie Frad. I was a little bit surprised that Parachute Man didn't go around him when he eased the pace up, and I was hoping that Parachute Man would come back to his best, but it doesn't look like he's the Parachute Man that we once knew, especially in 2016. And I don't know, it'll be quite interesting to see what happens with the future of Parachute Man. Like I said, he was a top horse in his day, but it doesn't look like he's the horse that he once was. Then I wanted to talk about that was Perplexing, another horse that we thought would be very, very hard to beat on Friday morning if you watched our show, and wow, he really impressed me. This horse really looks like he's going to be a decent horse here in Mauritius. In fact, I think I mentioned it before, but his first run reminded me of Diamond Light, and the way that he's winning, I think that this horse will probably go through the divisions. Hopefully he stays sound and everything goes well with Perplexing, because I really see this horse just carrying on winning. In fact, I think you can back him until he gets beat, and even if he does get beat, back him again next time, because he really looks like he's something special. And once again, well done to the Gajiras. They put their money where their mouth is. They buy some decent horses, and it's quite exciting for us racegoers to see horses like this running. Right, and then a little bit of jockey news. Obviously, I don't know, you obviously know by now, it's already Wednesday morning, but Derek David and Alan Pedro have decided to go their own ways. I think it was a bit of an amicable decision. I think Derek David has been having a little bit of problems with his back, and I think Alan Pedro has decided that he's going to go look for another jockey. I think in the meantime he's going to be using Kersley Ramsamy, and nice for him. He looks like he'll be picking up a couple of nice rides in the future. And then the other jockey, Yannis Prolis, he's also been, well, they've also sort of parted ways with Shanice Sharang, and we won't be seeing him here anymore either. So anyway, I just wish the both of them well, further on with their career, that everything goes well, and let's hope that everything turns out okay for these 2 jockeys. But like I said, it doesn't look like we'll be seeing them again this season. Right, let's talk about my 2 to follow. And this week I've got 2 horses. They both ran in the same race, so we'll only be following one race, but we'll be looking at 2 horses. And in fact, the 2 horses I want to talk about is what I spoke about on Friday morning. I think both these horses are very nice horses, and they ran very good races. Al Mariachi and Ideal Secret. Al Mariachi from the Alan Pedro stable. Like I said, he was a top horse in South Africa. So was Ideal Secret. And if you watched our Friday show, I remember telling you that Andrew Fortune told me that this horse is a very, very nice horse. Al Mariachi, well, he showed quite a lot of pace. He was in the box seat most of the way, and he just failed to quicken up a little bit on that 990, and he's obviously going to be a much better horse over 1365 or 1400. I think we're going to see a lot of this horse, and he stayed on very well to run second. But the horse that I thought was even more impressive was Ideal Secret. He stood a little bit flat-footed at the start, a little bit slow away, and he travelled last all the way, and then he came into the straight, and Richard Oliver went for that inside run, and but he was really eating up the ground towards the finish. It'd be interesting to see what his finishing time was. It must have been quite impressive, because he was really running on quite well, and I'm going to stick to what Andrew Fortune told me. I think he's going to be a very, very nice horse here in Mauritius, Ideal Secret. It's a young horse. He's only going to be turning 4 in a couple of weeks' time, and in fact both these horses are going to be turning 4 in a couple of weeks' time, and I think both of them are definitely going to be worthwhile following. I think they're going to win their fair share of races together, Al Mariachi and Ideal Secret. We're going to keep an eye on these 2. Right, now well, that was the past. We're going to turn to the future now. There were 5 barrier trials, and I thought I'd show you all of them, but before I do, just excuse the fact that there's a couple of new horses here that I just can't find the form. I've gone onto Form Grids, I went onto the MTC site, I even went onto Arrow, and but I'll show you their gallops anyway, and as we catch up with their form, I'll let you know what I think about their South African form. Let's talk about the first barrier trial. It was Overshadow from the Freetown Derby stable. He had the blue. Wild Horizon from Anwar Doyle. He had the red jacket. And then Silver Sail, Simon Jones, green, and he galloped with blinkers. Let's talk about Overshadow. Well, he set up second, and he actually won the trial quite easily. He's a 5-year-old. He's a 4-time winner, and he's by one of my favorite stallions, Trippy. And I see he raced in a couple of feature races, and in fact ran up as high as a merit rating 99 in South Africa. And three of his wins were over 1400, so looks like he's going to be a nice horse this, even up to a mile here in Mauritius. And Wild Horizon, well, he jumped quick. He had lots of speed, and I'm surprised because he's a stayer, this horse, and I see he's a 6-time winner already. So unfortunately, he was scratched on debut, and he was reported to be unsound. And I see in South Africa in a few times he had a bit of history of unsoundness. So let's keep an eye on Wild Horizon about his well-being. Looks like he could have a couple of issues as far as soundness is concerned. And then Silver Sails from Simon Jones stable. Well, he lost many lengths, and in fact, all three of them galloped. This gallop was all in hand. All three of them were in hand. It wasn't a sort of a hard gallop. But Silver Sails, he's run behind some decent horses like Gingerbread Man and Cool at Heart. These horses are both quite nice horses in Mauritius. So keep an eye on Silver Sails. He did gallop with the blinkers, and I see he ran up to, well, from a 14 right up to a 2,000 meters. So he could be a nice horse as well. Silver Sails from the Simon Jones stable. Right, that was the first one. And then once again, this is where I'm going to apologize with no form. We had Sacred Flame from the Rajramdeen stable. He had the yellow jacket. Crazy Vision from Anwar Doyle. He had the red. And then Attada from Patrick Mervyn. He had the blue. And Sacred Flame, well, unfortunately, there's no form to talk about. When I say no form to talk about, I couldn't find any form. But it's nice to see Raj stepping out some of his new horses. He's been relying on his old horses. He's only had the one winner. But I think the stable's going to pick up soon. He's got his new horses are now starting to get ready. And in fact, one or two of them have run. And I thought Sacred Flame's barrier trial this morning was very, very impressive with that yellow jacket. And as soon as I get some form, we'll talk more about him. Then Crazy Vision, well, he's a 4-year-old rated 42. So obviously he's won one or two races. And I thought he'd put up a nice gallop on the outside. And like I said, unfortunately, we don't have any form. But as soon as we get that, we will talk about those two horses again. Then Attada, well, he's a young horse. He had an excellent debut where he ran second. And he disappointed his next start. But he's only had the 2 runs, and he looks pretty green still. So I think there's quite a lot of scope for improvement for Attada, and be interesting to see when he puts his feet onto the race course. I think he's going to be a decent horse, and he's going to just keep on improving. Right, then the third barrier trial, we had Henry Tudor from Freetown Derby stable. He had the blue jacket. He did wear blinkers as well. Silver Rock, Rameshwar Gajra had the yellow, and Bad Attitude from the Anwar Doyle. Anwar Doyle stepped out quite a few of his new horses, so that's also quite promising for him. Henry Tudor, well, I thought it was a very, very impressive barrier trial with that blue jacket and the blinkers. He won easily with the hands, and he won by about 5 lengths this barrier trial, and unextended. So he looks like he's a nice horse. Look, he is by VAR, and we all know that VAR's horses are very, very speedy. So he won over 1,200 in South Africa. So I would imagine he could get away with a 1365, but you'll probably see him in the 990. And nice to see Henry Tudor, and looks like he's going to be a nice horse for the Freetown Derby stable. Silver Rock with a yellow. Well, once again, he played up behind the stalls, and he was quite difficult to load, but eventually he did go in. And let's hope that they've got the better of Silver Rock, because I think he's a decent horse that's on his day. And I did like him last time when he won as well, and let's hope he gets over those issues. And then Bad Attitude, well, well, at one stage he was about 10 lengths behind the field. I'm not surprised, because he looks like he's going to be a very, very, well, he looked like he was a very, very green horse. Another horse that we don't have any form about, sorry it's about that once again, but it'll be interesting to see Bad Attitude. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him come out and gallop again. Hopefully by then we've got some form for you to see Bad Attitude. Right, let's talk about the fourth one. And just all of these horses worked with blinkers. World Dreamer from the Simon Jones stable. He had the green. Polo Rock, Rameshwar Gajra had the yellow jacket, and then Roman Emperor, he had the red jacket from Jean-Michel stable. World Dreamer, well, he had plenty of gate speed. He was about 4 or 5 lengths clear, and he actually went on to win the barrier trial quite comfortably. He's had 2 sort of disappointing runs in Mauritius, but looks like the blinkers could just do the trick. The blinkers, this morning's gallop, well, looked a lot better with those blinkers on, and I wouldn't be surprised if they put the blinkers on. Look, he did have excuses last time. The saddle slipped, and I suppose you can ignore that run, but he just looks like a better horse with blinkers. And then Polar Rock, well, he's once again another horse from the Rameshwar Gajara stable that's been very, very difficult at the pens, and I think he was scratched last time. Yeah, he was scratched last time, and well, I thought he galloped in hand. I don't think they want to do a lot with him. Hopefully they've sorted out his problems as well. And then Roman Emperor from the Jean-Michel stable with a red jacket. Well, he was sort of tailed off, but I don't think Cedric wanted to do too much work with him. Obviously, they're trying him with the blinkers, and he's improved all the time, especially as he's gone further. And that's why I wasn't surprised that he was so far back. He is a stayer, this horse, and I think those two other horses were just too quick for him. But he was just kept in hand, and I too believe that this horse will be better with blinkers. So let's keep an eye on Roman Emperor, especially when he goes over that 1850. I think he'll be a big, big runner. Right, then the last barrier trial we want to talk about is the Bazanite from Patrick Mervin's stable. He had the blue jacket, Together Forever. Simon Jones had the green jacket, and then Street Boy Jean-Michel, he had the red black jacket, and he was tried with blinkers. The Bazanite, well, it's the first time I've actually seen this horse, and he's not bad. He's a 3-year-old maiden, but he has been placed a few times in South Africa, and especially over ground, right up to a 2000. I see he's rated 26, and I think that this was of that sort of rating. He looks like he could be a decent horse, especially the way he galloped this morning. It was quite an impressive workout for the Bazanite. And Together Forever, Simon Jones. Well, he's been also another horse that's been very difficult behind the stalls, and I can say that well, that's probably why he had to be repassed, but he showed he loaded quite nicely, and he behaved himself. So let's hope they over those problems. And remember, it was a very good run behind Pride Rock and Melson when those two horses dead heated, and if he repeats that sort of form, Together Forever could pick up a race soon. And like I said, it wasn't a bad barrier trial, and if it all goes well with this horse, he could surprise us at long odds. So keep an eye on Together Forever. If things go well with him at the pens and he reproduces that good run behind Melson and Pride Rock, he could win a race soon. And then Street Boy, well, he's the lowest rated horse in the Jean-Michel stable, and I think they're getting a little bit desperate with him. They're going to try him with the blinkers, and let's see how he goes, because Street Boy, well, we can't get too excited about his form. Hopefully the blinkers does improve him a little bit. Right, well, that's the 5 barrier trials, and I thought I wanted to talk about all of them because it was at least 1 or 2 horses in each barrier trial that I thought was worthwhile following, and like I said, hopefully when I get that form, we can talk about them a little bit more. Right, then sand track work, I don't have a lot because I showed you quite a lot of the barrier trials, but I thought I'd mention a couple of horses that are running in the Lightning Cup this week, and it's going to be our feature race, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very exciting runner. The first horse, Nottinghamshire from the Rameshwar Gajara stable. He's come from those 2 back-to-back wins, and 2 very impressive wins, in fact. And yes, he did carry lightweights of 52 and 52.5. His weight has jumped up this week. I think he's carded to carry 56.5. It's obviously going to be a little bit tougher for him, but I can tell you this horse is holding his form very, very well, and he's definitely going to be a big runner in the Lightning Stakes, Nottinghamshire. Right, then the next one I want to show you is Ernie. He has lost his form slightly, but not too bad. But you know, especially the way he was winning last year, you thought he would have won a race this season. But obviously, carrying that 61 all the time, it gets tougher and tougher for him. But like I said, there are 1 or 2 horses that are coming up in the rating, especially Nottinghamshire, and that just brings them a little bit closer. I think last time there was about an 8-kilogram swing. This time there's a 4-kilogram swing, so he's going to be about 4 kilos better off. He looks like he's coming back to his best, Ernie, and obviously the 990 is one of his favourite distances, especially when they go quite quick. He sits off the pace and he's really got a good finish. So let's hope to see Ernie back to his best. Then Yankee Captain from the Reset Yard. As you know, he's won 2 very good races here in Mauritius, although it has been over a 1400 and a mile. But he looks like he's a top horse this, and obviously the biggest question mark is going to be the 990. Is it going to be a little bit sharp for him? But if they go very quick, and Robbie has him sort of settled a couple of lengths off them, he definitely has got the ability to turn on the pace, this horse, and I think he's a very, very exciting horse in the making, Yankee Captain. So let's see how he goes. It's going to be tough to see how to imagine how he's going to race over the 990. I think only the race is going to tell. Right, then Charles Hutton, back to the Jean-Michel stable, Jean-Michel Henry stable. Remember, this horse has just got into his yard, just walked into his yard recently, and I've always said a change is as good as a holiday. I've seen a lot of horses move into a new yard and perform their first out, or perform well on their first outing. And I suppose he did disappoint last time. I thought he would be very, very hard to beat last time, but he did disappoint. You can't ignore that previous run when he ran behind Nottinghamshire. Remember, he's also going to be a lot better off in the weights with Nottinghamshire as well. And it's going to be a tough choice for Cedric Sejean, Charles Litton or Ernie. It remains to be seen who he's going to ride. But I thought Charles Litton's doing quite well since he's moved over to the Jean-Michel Henry stable. Right, then I did mention that I wanted to speak to you about two of my horses that I have been following. One of them is Cool at Heart, the 3-year-old. Well, he won't be 3 for much longer. On the 1st of August, as you know, every single horse will be turning a year older, so he'll be a 4-year-old soon. And I thought that was an excellent run behind Saint-Tropez last time. It was his only second run in Mauritius, and he got a little bit of traffic problems, but it was a very good third behind Saint-Tropez. As you all know, I do think, I think very highly of Saint-Tropez, and the fact that he's only a 3-year-old, for me, it was a very, very impressive run. Richie Mullins had a winner now, and he looks like he's back on, well, I wouldn't say back on track, but it's nice to see him back in the winner's box, and hopefully Cool at Heart when he rides that next time. I think he's going to be quite a tough horse to beat. He's going to be, well, he is one of my 2-2 followers, and I have been following him. Right, and then another one of my 2-2 followers was Afdik, and if you remember last time I made him my value bet, and I actually thought he was, I wouldn't say he was unlucky. Square the Circle won the race convincingly in the end. He was never going to beat the winner, but I thought he had a tough race. He was drawn a bit wide, he was pulling, he never had much cover. In fact, he was quite wide around that first turn up the hill, and I think that put chances well, the end to any of his chances. But he did well to stay into second behind Square the Circle. I think Captain Most was in that race, if I'm not mistaken. So that form line has been franked slightly, and I'm expecting a very, very good run from Aftik next time. In fact, I think he can go one better next time. Right, well, that's our show for this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I think on Friday, I think we do have Shahil back. I think he's finished with the exams, and I'm looking forward to that because, like I said, I love having a chat with Shahil. He's quite a informative guy, knows he's racing very well, and so he will be with us on Friday morning. So please remember to catch up with us on Friday when we got our show On the Mark, where we're going to preview the Saturday meeting. And remember, it is the Lightning Cup, so I think it's going to be quite an exciting meeting. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll catch up with you on Friday morning. Goodbye.